In this video, I will show you how to convert a standard room humidifier into a vivarium fogging system to help maintain humidity in your vivarium, and why this is better than buying a commercial reptile fogger. It's pretty simple, but there are some considerations and tips that I wanted to share to help you make the right choices if you decide to do it too. Alright, so the first and most important step is to choose the correct humidifier. There are a few things you should be looking for when choosing the correct humidifier for use as a vivarium fogger. Firstly, what you want is an ultrasonic cool mist humidifier. Some systems have a warm mist function which is redundant and offers no positives over cool mist, so stick to a cool mist system. You will also want a humidifier that has a directed mist flow by a spout, small opening or channel where it can be possible to install and mount some pipes or tubing. Now this is really important. You want to make sure that it has simple controls, the first being a manual on and off switch. In order to have a converted vivarium fogger that functions automatically, you will need a humidifier that can be left in the on position manually, so that when the power is given to the unit by use of either a timer or a hygrostat, it will turn on automatically. If the humidifier has touchscreen buttons or something that can't be left manually in the on position, it won't work with a timer or hygrostat. As you can see here, my humidifier can be left in the on position manually and at the required level of flow that I set using this dial control. When the timer turns over, the humidifier turns on automatically and at the preset amount of flow. This will also work in the same way with a hygrostat. Next is the capacity. Often the commercially available reptile fogging systems have quite a low capacity for water. Being able to choose a humidifier that has a much larger capacity for water is one of the best reasons to do a conversion. The bigger the capacity, the less often you need to refill it. And lastly, the price. This will be very dependent on where you live and what is available to you, but in general, commercially available vivarium or reptile foggers are often more expensive and have less water capacity. In my experience, it has been a cheaper and better end product to do a conversion yourself. Keep in mind that every conversion will be a little bit different depending on the type and model humidifier that you choose. But the principles are universal and you can take these ideas and possibly apply it to your project. Alright, now that you have the knowledge to choose the right humidifier for you, let's get started. Here is the humidifier that I chose. It has a 3.5 litre or almost 1 gallon capacity, and as you can see the spout sits on the lid and can be rotated. This will be helpful for ease of refilling and maintaining the fogger, so I'm going to take advantage of that. I start by cutting the top off the spout with a hacksaw, so that I am left with the bottom section that can be pushed back into the lid and swiveled to any angle needed. I then cleaned it up a bit with a rotary tool and some sandpaper. Now we can create an attachment to direct the flow of mist to our vivarium. I do this using PVC couplings and pipe, and in my case I start with a 90-degree bend that is glued to the spout base we just prepared. What follows is a short length of PVC pipe, a PVC end cap, and then the barbed hose connector. I used Gorilla Glue to adhere all of these pieces together. The Gorilla Glue requires some moisture to cure, so very lightly spraying the couplings with water seemed to work. For the strongest bond possible, you could use PVC cement, but in my case I was experimenting with different methods, and if it wasn't working perfectly, I could pull them apart with force and try again. With PVC cement, this would be impossible and new parts would be needed. The couplings and pipe I used were all 20mm, but I only had a 16mm hose connector on hand, so to save time I just made a hole in a PVC end cap that the smaller hose connector could then fit into. The glue does expand a little, so don't use too much and consider cleaning up the extra if it bothers you with a knife. I did that here and decided to paint it black to make everything a bit more uniform. I decided to make a PVC pipe outlet that would divide the mist into two directions. This is optional and depends on your setup and what you are trying to achieve. I painted the outlet with some tinted Drylock paint in the same color as my vivarium rock wall so it wouldn't stand out too much. I made the outlet with PVC piping, a T-bar PVC coupling, and two 45-degree bend couplings. Again, Gorilla Glue was used to stick them all together. I now drilled a hole in the roof of my vivarium for the mist outlet, and held it in place by having a hose clamp tightened at the base of the pipe that sticks up out of the roof. Now to connect the humidifier to the mist outlet in the vivarium, I am using soft clear tubing that slips onto the hose connector and PVC pipe. I didn't have a second hose connector for the outlet either, so what I did here was boil some water that I will use to soften the tubing, which can help me to get this smaller tubing onto a larger PVC pipe. Once the tubing was on, I used a hose clamp to be sure that the hold would be tight enough. Then we simply need to fill the reservoir with some reverse osmosis water, have the unit in the on position at the chosen flow setting and plugging it into the timer and power, and we are done. I have set up my fogger so that it sits on top of my enclosure. For me, this was the best option for this setup. It also means that any condensed water in the tubing will just run down the piping and into the enclosure. You can have the fogger sitting next to and lower than your vivarium if you want, but just make sure that the hose or piping you use is as direct as possible without any loops or sagging, as this will create areas for water to condense and pull up to the point that the fog won't reach your enclosure. I do recommend using soft tubing as it makes refilling and maintaining your fogger a lot easier than if you were to have a hard line piping setup. There's many ways you can go about this. You can experiment and find out what works best for you and your setup, but hopefully this video has given you some ideas and knowledge to help you succeed in doing your own. Please keep in mind that these humidification systems here actually do serve a purpose. They're not just for aesthetic reasons, so make sure that if you decide to make a reptile fogging system or vivarium fogging system, that you're doing it for the right reasons and that you are implementing the use of this type of equipment correctly for your species. If you did find this video helpful and now you feel ready to make your own vivarium fogging system for your animals, please give the video a like and let me know in the comments below. I've been really enjoying the feedback and the dialogue that we've been able to have in the comments, and I'm doing my best to answer any and all questions that you guys have there. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. There is a lot more content coming that I'm really excited to share. You will not want to miss it. So thank you for watching, and see you again soon in the next video.